They couldn't destroy you, so they started studying you. That's the part they never admit out loud. They smile when you walk in, but their eyes, they scan you like data. Every move you make, every win you take, it's getting documented. You've become their unsolved equation, their late-night search history. The irony? You never asked to be a mystery. You just made it out of the maze they built to trap you. Now they're dissecting your glow like it's some kind of glitch in the system. Think about it. When a bird escapes the cage, the other birds don't celebrate. They panic. They start studying how it happened. That's you, chosen one. You broke patterns that were meant to keep you average. You proved that silence can be louder than noise, that peace can be power, and that not everyone needs permission to win. Here's the fact that drives them insane. According to studies in social psychology, when someone rises beyond what others expected, it doesn't inspire admiration, it triggers obsession. People can't handle seeing someone succeed without the usual compromises, without the fakeness, without selling out. You didn't just rise, you rewrote their entire sense of normal. And thank you, chosen one, for even being here right now. Don't forget to give this message the energy it deserves. Hit the like, subscribe, and help this message reach more souls who need to hear it. You're part of something bigger, a force that refuses to bow down or blend in. Your energy isn't just surviving, it's spreading. Back to where we were. Let's be real. Your success wasn't supposed to exist. You weren't supposed to make it without crawling through their systems or selling your soul for a seat at their table. But you did it with your integrity untouched. You did it with your hands clean and your vision clear. That's why they're stuck between confusion and fascination. They don't know if they should applaud you, copy you, or cancel you. The truth is, you didn't follow their formula. You became the formula. You see, when you stop playing by their rules, you force them to question their own. It's psychological chaos. They can't understand how someone can stay kind and still win, how someone can take betrayal and still build, how someone can be underestimated and still outlast them all. So they turn you into a case study. They replay your life in their heads like a documentary, every loss, every comeback, every silent victory. They want to know how you did it, but they don't have the emotional range to comprehend the answer. Because what they don't realize is, you didn't make it by luck. You made it by alignment. You trusted the process, even when nothing made sense. You kept going when others laughed. You built in silence when others doubted. You carried pain that would have folded most people in half. And that's exactly what unsettles them. You made surviving look elegant. You made strength look effortless. Every time they whisper your name, it's not admiration, it's research. Every time they watch your page, your post, your progress, it's not curiosity, it's confusion. They're looking for your weakness, the crack in your armor, the human error that'll make them feel safe again. But here's the thing, they can't find what doesn't exist. You don't operate from ego or envy. You move from evolution. You're not competing with anyone. You're becoming everything they said was impossible. You've turned into what sociologists call a disruptive presence. Someone who bends perception just by existing. You make people confront the lies they tell themselves. That's why the room feels heavier when you enter it. You're not just a person anymore. You're proof. Proof that authenticity wins. Proof that peace is a weapon. Proof that integrity still holds power in a fake world. They study your patterns, your silence, your timing. They want to replicate your calm under pressure, but no experiment can recreate what was born in real pain. You didn't come out of a lab, you came out of lessons. You didn't follow a manual, you followed your intuition, and that terrifies them because it means their structure, their system, their rules don't guarantee success anymore. You do. So yes, chosen one, you're being studied. Every time you walk away instead of reacting, they take notes. Every time you heal instead of hate, they rewind. Every time you win without noise, they start losing control. You are living proof that the universe plays favorites with those who never stop trying. You are the living glitch in their code, the proof that energy doesn't lie. But here's the twist. They think they're observing you. They're wrong. The universe is observing them, watching how they treat someone who made it without stepping on others. Every projection, every whisper, every fake compliment, it's being noted. The balance always keeps score. You didn't come this far to shrink now. You've already survived being misunderstood, underestimated, and mislabeled. The microscope they use to study you, it's starting to reflect back at them, because when you live in truth, your light becomes the test. They all keep failing. So don't dim, don't hide. Let them analyze every move. Let them wonder how you keep glowing after every storm. Because the truth is, they'll never understand the power of a chosen one who didn't need validation to rise. You didn't need their permission. You just needed your purpose. And now you've become the lesson. And hey, chosen one, thank you for making it this far. You're not just listening, you're decoding the truth they never wanted you to see. What comes next will expose why your success makes them uncomfortable and why your presence feels like a mirror they can't look into for long. Believe me, if you've ever felt like you're being watched, whispered about, or quietly analyzed, what's ahead will hit home. So before we dive deeper, drop 777 in the comments if you know you're not crazy, you're just noticed. And if you can, bless the team behind this message with a super thanks. Every bit of energy you give keeps this mission alive and helps us keep revealing what others are too afraid to say. Whether it's a cent or 1,000, it's all part of the same frequency that's breaking illusions. Now, take a breath, because what's coming next isn't theory. It's the truth about why they can't stop studying you. Let's dive in. Number 1, they're not curious, they're terrified. You figured it out. They thought they buried you, but all they did was plant a seed that learned how to grow through concrete. That's why they're watching, not out of interest, but out of panic. You were supposed to stay broken, quiet, predictable. You were supposed to play small so they could feel big. Instead, you rose from their mess like evidence that every rumor, every smear, every attempt to kill your spirit only built your legend. They don't study you because you're fascinating. They study you because you're proof that their control failed. Let's be clear. This isn't curiosity. It's confusion mixed with fear. You broke their algorithm. You did what wasn't in their plan. You weren't supposed to rise without crawling back for approval. You weren't supposed to find peace without their validation. Yet here you are, walking with calm power. No need to explain, no need to prove. That's the part they can't process. You were their experiment that went rogue, their projection that refused to conform. The version of you they created in their heads was never supposed to escape. And yet you escaped and upgraded. They call it observation, but it's really insecurity in disguise. They're hoping to find the glitch in your glow, the why behind your peace. They replay your story like a scene that doesn't make sense. How did someone so underestimated, so dismissed, become untouchable? They can't compute the answer because the formula was never logical. It was spiritual alignment, discipline, and pain turned into power. You didn't just rise. You rewrote the rules silently while they were too busy mocking your downfall. They expected you to beg for understanding, but you built understanding within yourself. They wanted you to collapse under pressure, but you learned to breathe in chaos. You became calm in storms, focused under fire. That terrifies them because people like you aren't supposed to exist. You weren't supposed to survive the smear campaigns, the fake love, the sabotage, but you did. And not just survive, you thrived. You walked out with your energy cleaner, your boundaries sharper, and your silence louder than their gossip ever was. So now they hover, watching your social media, asking mutual friends, "What's up with you?" Pretending it's casual, when really they're looking for cracks. They can't accept that your glow isn't borrowed, it's earned, that your smile isn't performance, it's recovery. They're used to people needing attention to feel relevant. You don't. You learned how to be seen without seeking, how to be powerful without noise. That's why they're confused. You're everything they pretended to be, but couldn't maintain. And here's the funny part. They think you changed. No, you didn't change. You returned to yourself. They just never met this version before, the version that stopped explaining, stopped chasing, stopped shrinking. The version that turned every scar into a strategy. They don't know how to talk to someone who doesn't need saving. They don't know how to decode someone who's comfortable in solitude. They don't know how to process someone who can't be manipulated with guilt or validation anymore. You can almost hear their thoughts echoing. How did they do it? Why are they still standing? Why are they shining when we tried everything? And the answer is simple. You stopped operating in survival mode. You started living in purpose mode. They're addicted to drama. You're addicted to growth. You stopped bleeding for people who'd never do the same for you. You stopped explaining your worth and started demonstrating it, and that quiet, confident energy. That's the new language they'll never understand. When they see you now, it messes with their sense of reality, because everything they told themselves about you, every justification for mistreating you, falls apart in your presence. They have to watch you succeed just to convince themselves it's not real. They scroll, they gossip, they analyze, but deep down they know your glow-up wasn't luck. It was justice. You didn't cheat the system. You outgrew it. So don't mistake their interest for admiration. Their stares aren't applause, they're disbelief. They can't stand the fact that you're unbothered, still evolving, still laughing, that after all the chaos, you still look peaceful. Because that peace didn't come from being untouched. It came from surviving what they couldn't handle. Let them study. Let them whisper. Every time they try to decode your silence, they reveal their own noise. You are the mirror they can't look into without confronting everything fake within themselves. You are the reminder that real strength doesn't need to scream. It simply exists. You were never their experiment. You were the universe's proof that pressure creates diamonds, not compliance. So while they analyze, you ascend. While they doubt, you build. While they stare, you move in purpose. You are the case study they'll never understand. And that's exactly how it should be. Number 2. You did it without their blueprint. And that's what broke them. They gave you no map, no approval, no applause, yet somehow you still reached the place they swore didn't exist. That's what eats them alive at night. You were never supposed to make it this far without using their directions, their strategies, their rules of success. But here you are, standing tall while they're still trying to figure out which manual you used. Spoiler alert, you didn't. You built your path with bare hands, bruised knuckles, and unshakable faith in your own compass. They don't understand that some roads aren't found, they're created. You didn't wait for permission to begin. You didn't beg for a seat at their crowded, rigged tables. You built your own table from scratch, while they laughed and called it delusion. Now they're circling that same table, pretending to congratulate you while secretly trying to measure how you built it. And the truth: you didn't follow any blueprint they recognize, because your foundation wasn't drawn in ink. It was carved in pain, patience, and persistence. Imagine this. An architect walks into a city full of perfect glass towers, all built the same way, all soulless copies of each other. Then, one day, a house rises in the middle of nowhere, made of stone, light, and silence. No one saw it being built. No one approved the design. But it stands there, indestructible. That house is you. And now every architect in the city is obsessed. How was it built? Who designed it? What materials were used? They don't understand that the storm that was supposed to destroy you became your cement. They're not impressed by your independence. They're offended by it. You didn't play their networking games. You didn't grovel to be chosen. You chose yourself. And that's the ultimate rebellion in a world addicted to validation. You didn't trade your authenticity for attention. You didn't shapeshift to fit in rooms that insulted your energy. You simply walked away, and the world followed. That's what unsettles them most. They're addicted to hierarchy. You're addicted to peace. They'll never say it out loud, but what they really want to know is, how did you win without us? How did you get here without their cosign, their mentorship, their strategy decks? How did you turn isolation into innovation? The answer is simple. You didn't copy their formula because you were too busy writing your own. They mistook your silence for weakness, not realizing silence was your laboratory. Every quiet night, every lonely season, every setback. That's where you mixed resilience with self-awareness and turned it into rocket fuel. They're trying to reverse engineer your success like a malfunctioning algorithm. They analyze your habits, your words, your timing, thinking they'll find a secret. But your power isn't mechanical. It's human. It's not a system they can replicate. It's an energy they can't download. You didn't come out of a brand strategy session. You came out of heartbreak, failure, reinvention, and a refusal to quit. Imagine this. A hacker breaks into a system built to trap everyone in loops of imitation, and instead of stealing data, they upload freedom. That's what you did. You hacked the matrix. You proved that there's no single path to success. That individuality is a weapon in a world of clones. And that's why they stare at you like a system error that refuses to crash. Every time you win, it invalidates their excuses. Every time you stay calm, it challenges their chaos. Every time you smile after a betrayal, it exposes how weak their masks truly are. You're showing the world that power isn't about control. It's about authenticity. You didn't just skip their blueprint, you exposed its flaws. They built their identities on borrowed formulas, copying the moves of others, chasing trends, following the same tired scripts. You didn't. You trusted something far more powerful. Instinct. You listened to your own rhythm. You followed your curiosity instead of convention. You took risks they were too scared to take. And while they mocked you, the universe started rearranging itself to align with your courage. The day you stopped asking for directions was the day you arrived. That's what they can't process. They think success requires permission, applause, and consensus. You showed them it only requires conviction. They built careers on connections. You built one on character. They built reputations. You built reality. You walked your path alone, and now every step you take echoes like thunder in their world of artificial applause. And yes, it bothers them. It bothers them that your peace isn't rented, your purpose isn't borrowed, and your progress isn't for sale. They're angry because you refuse to need them. You proved that real power doesn't chase validation. It creates it. You didn't bow to their rules of the game. You made the game irrelevant. Imagine this. A sculptor who's never held a chisel creates a masterpiece by accident, using broken glass and tears. People gather, confused, asking, "Where did you learn this?" And the sculptor simply says, "By surviving." That's you, chosen one. You didn't learn success. You lived it. You didn't memorize motivation quotes. You embodied them. Your scars became your syllabus, your loneliness became your classroom, and the diploma. That's your peace. At this point, some might ask, how did you keep going when nothing made sense? Because nothing making sense was the lesson. You learned to move even when the light was gone. You trusted your steps in the dark until they led you to the fire inside. You discovered that growth isn't glamorous, it's gritty. It's crying at midnight and still showing up at sunrise. It's failing quietly, healing privately, and coming back stronger while they were still gossiping. They'll never understand that your success isn't a fluke. It's evidence. Evidence that not playing by their book doesn't mean you lose. It means you create a new genre. You became the plot twist in their story. The unexpected variable that proved every one of their rules was optional. You made it without them, and now they're forced to face a truth they hate, that their power only worked on those who believed in it. You never did. They can't steal what was never taught. That's the beauty of it. They can mimic your moves, but not your mindset. They can copy your style, but not your soul. Because your blueprint isn't a file, it's your frequency. It's the way you move, speak, think, and heal. And no one can replicate a rhythm that was built from pain and purpose. You didn't rise because you followed the system. You rose because you stopped believing in it. You didn't chase power. You became it. You didn't need their acceptance. You outgrew the need entirely. You are the glitch that rewrote the rules, the exception that proved their whole structure was built on sand. So let them study, let them decode, let them obsess. They'll never find what they're looking for because your blueprint wasn't designed for followers. It was designed for freedom. You made it without their help, without their formula, without their approval. You're the walking reminder that the universe rewards authenticity over imitation. They'll keep asking, how did they do it? And the answer will always be the same, by refusing to become you. Number 3, your pain wasn't poison, it was the blueprint. They threw fire at you, and you learned how to walk through it without burning. That's what really breaks their minds. They expected the trauma to erase you, but instead, it engraved you. Every scar became handwriting on your soul, spelling out resilience they can't even pronounce. They thought pain would shrink you into silence. Instead, it trained you to move like thunder, quiet but impossible to ignore. Imagine this, they handed you chaos, expecting you to drown in it, but you treated it like an apprenticeship. You studied your wounds the way a scientist studies stars, examining every crack until it revealed its own light. That's what separates you from the rest. You didn't escape the fire. You became something the fire couldn't consume. They think you're fine now. No, you're forged now. You didn't numb out. You analyzed the ache. You didn't run from your demons. You outsmarted them, turned them into data, and built boundaries out of everything that tried to break you. You're not healed because life got softer. You're healed because you got smarter. Every time someone betrayed you, it added another layer of emotional armor. Every heartbreak became a blueprint of what never to allow again. Here's the truth. People don't understand trauma until they see someone turn it into power. They wanted your pain to make you bitter, but you learned to filter it into clarity. You stopped seeking apologies and started collecting lessons. They can't comprehend how you still move with grace when your past reads like a survival manual. That's why they're studying you, your evidence that suffering doesn't have to destroy, it can design. The scar isn't proof of damage, it's proof of construction. You didn't come out soft and shaken. You came out disciplined and deliberate. You don't need revenge. You are revenge. Every calm decision, every boundary, every win, they all scream louder than anger ever could. They'll keep trying to decode how someone who should have shattered became unshakable, but the answer is simple. You stopped letting pain define you and started letting it refine you, and that's why your existence still burns them. You made peace with the fire that still terrifies them. Number 4, your energy doesn't speak. It strips masks. You don't expose people with words, you expose them by existing. That's the problem. You walk in and the air changes. Suddenly, the room feels heavier, the fake smiles start glitching, and every mask begins to sweat. You're not trying to intimidate anyone, but authenticity always feels like an attack to those who live behind illusions. You don't flex your power. It leaks through your silence. Imagine this. A room full of actors mid-performance, each reciting their lines perfectly. Then the curtain suddenly falls, and you're standing there, not performing, just being instantly. Everyone forgets their script. That's what your energy does. You don't play along with pretense, you break it. You're the truth in a world addicted to filters, and truth will always look like rebellion to those who only know performance. They can't fake confidence around someone who is confidence. They can't mimic peace in front of someone who radiates it. You're not here to compete. You're here to correct frequencies. That's why some people can't look you in the eye. They feel the weight of their own pretending when they do. You don't even have to call it out. Their spirit already knows it's been caught. You didn't come to fit in their play. You came to end the act. You're not a performer. You're a reminder. You remind people what honesty feels like, what self-respect sounds like, what unfiltered energy looks like. And that's terrifying to anyone who's built their identity on pretending. They feel naked around you, not because you're judging them, but because your energy refuses to lie. You awaken what they buried, their courage, their truth, their forgotten fire. Some will love you for it, others will hate you for the same reason, but both are reacting to the same thing. Your presence reveals their truth. You don't inspire people, you expose what they lost trying to be liked, and that, chosen one, is real power. Number 5. You're the proof. Their war failed. They tried to write your ending, but you turned their obituary into your origin story. That's the part they can't swallow. You weren't supposed to still be here, laughing, calm, unstoppable. You were supposed to collapse under the weight of their lies, drown in the chaos they designed, and fade quietly into irrelevance. But instead, you became proof. Proof that they never had the power they thought they did. They threw everything at you, betrayal, rumor, isolation, and you absorbed it like a forge takes heat. You didn't burn, you hardened. Every insult became iron. Every disappointment became discipline. You didn't just survive, you made survival look sophisticated. They called you crazy, but time revealed it wasn't insanity. It was intuition. They said you were done, but the universe used that as a cue for your next act. Imagine this, a courtroom filled with your doubters, every one of them clutching a false story about you. Then you walk in, glowing, grounded, healed, and their evidence disintegrates in real time. Your presence itself is the verdict. You don't have to prove anything. You are the proof. Your peace, your silence, your evolution. They scream louder than any defense ever could. They thought destroying your reputation would destroy your reality, but you rebuilt yourself so completely that even your scars look like luxury now. They tried to bury you under lies, but you turned the soil into strategy. You didn't just grow. You blossomed in the exact dirt they threw on your name. They wanted to end you. They ended their access instead. Every rumor became irrelevant when your results arrived. Every betrayal lost its sting when you turned it into boundaries. You became untouchable, not because you fought harder, but because you healed smarter. You didn't retaliate. You elevated. Now they look at you and see the nightmare they created. A version of you that doesn't break, doesn't chase, and doesn't need validation. You're the living receipt that their worst couldn't win. You walk with quiet power that says, I survived what was meant to destroy me, and I built an empire from the ashes. Number 6. You're the glitch their logic couldn't decode. They studied every type of person, except the one who couldn't be programmed. That's you. The anomaly in a world obsessed with patterns. You don't move for clout, attention, or applause. You move for purpose, and that's what throws them off. They can predict everyone else, the desperate, the pretenders, the puppets, but not you. Because your energy doesn't chase trends, it bends timelines. Imagine this, a chessboard filled with players who've memorized every move, every trick. Then you arrive and flip the board without saying a word. You don't play to win their game. You play to remind them the game was never real. That's why they can't categorize you. You're too strategic to be naive, too pure to be manipulated, too calm to be controlled. You carry frequencies that short-circuit their systems. They can feel your power, but they'll never understand its source. They thought power meant dominance. You showed them it means direction. You're not here to compete. You're here to correct. Your presence rewires rooms. Your silence shifts the atmosphere. People can't fake energy around you because your aura exposes dishonesty the way sunlight exposes dust. They sense it, the depth behind your stillness, the truth behind your eyes. You're not loud, but you're impossible to ignore. They call you unpredictable, but that's only because you don't obey their emotional scripts. You don't react, you respond. You don't chase, you attract. You don't preach, you embody, and that's what unsettles them. You're the reminder that alignment beats ambition, that intuition outsmarts manipulation. You were never built for their system. You were sent to expose it. You carry codes that weren't learned. They were remembered. You move through chaos like you've been here before, because in some sense you have your ancient wisdom wearing a modern face. You're the calm in the storm they can't summon, the balance they pretend to have. So yes, you're an anomaly, and that's the point. You're not a product of the world, you're its correction. They can't prepare for what was never meant to be predictable. Number 7, your moves are timing, not trend. They chase moments, you build momentum. That's the difference they can't compute. While everyone else scrambles to stay visible, you vanish, only to return unrecognizably evolved. You're not driven by the shallow hunger for relevance. You're guided by precision. You don't post for validation, you disappear to realign. That's silence, it's strategy, that's stillness, it's movement they can't detect. Imagine this. A crowd of people sprinting in circles, chasing flashes of attention like moths around a bulb. Then there's you, moving in quiet arcs, planting seeds while they're burning energy. They mistake your absence for inactivity, but absence is where you gather power. You're not in a rush to be seen because your purpose isn't seasonal, it's structural. While they trend, you transform. They can't understand why your success feels unpredictable. It's because you don't follow cycles of hype. You follow waves of alignment. You don't time your rise with applause. You rise when the energy demands it. They think timing is luck, but timing is your weapon. Every pause, every pivot, every comeback, it's orchestrated with intention, not desperation. You don't move to impress crowds, you move to shake systems. That's why they keep trying to study you like you're an algorithm that glitched. They can't find the pattern because you aren't built on code. You're built on calling. You're not reactionary, you're revolutionary. You don't dance for attention, you command it by doing nothing at all. While they chase the illusion of relevance, you build the reality of legacy. They rely on performance, you rely on presence. Your silence terrifies them because it holds more influence than their constant noise. They can't trend long enough to match what you do naturally, evolve. They'll keep refreshing their feeds, waiting for your next move, not realizing your every move is divine choreography. You don't follow trends, you end them. Because you're not here to go viral, you're here to go eternal. Number 8. You're the formula they'll never decode. They want your shine, but not your storms. That's where they always fail. They think they can copy your results without surviving your reality. They want your glow, but not the nights you cried through it. They want your peace, but not the wars that birthed it. You didn't get here through luck or shortcuts. You got here through sleepless reinvention. No one handed you a manual. You became one. Imagine this. 1,000 architects trying to rebuild a monument they never saw constructed. They measure, analyze, estimate, but still, it never looks the same. That's your life. You built yourself from debris. You weren't given instructions. You learned by bleeding. You didn't follow directions. You followed intuition. Every mistake was a teacher, every loss a tool. You weren't growing. You were forging. They call it luck because they can't stand calling it discipline. They call it mystery because they don't understand mastery. But deep down, they know you are the result of what they avoided. You didn't just face rejection, you dissected it. You didn't just endure pain, you weaponized it. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every failure became data. You turned pain into precision. You're not the product of privilege, you're the product of persistence. That's why they can't replicate you. They can mimic your look, your words, your vibe, but not your becoming. You walked through storms they wouldn't survive 10 minutes in. You mastered silence while they craved validation. You learned the power of patience in a world that worships speed. They'll study you like a project, hoping to find your secret, but your blueprint isn't ink, it's instinct. It's the rhythm between your scars and your survival. It's the way you rebuild every time without the world even noticing you're not a copy, you're a code. And no matter how many times they try to replicate it, the universe will keep rejecting the clone, because your manual wasn't written, it was lived. Number 9. Your power wasn't earned, it was remembered. They mistook your silence for surrender, not realizing it was the sound of something ancient waking up. That's what shook them. They thought rejection would bury you, but it backfired. It cracked the ground open and released everything they tried to suppress. You weren't destroyed, you were unlocked. Your downfall wasn't an ending, it was the password to your next level. Imagine this. They unplugged you from their system, thinking it would drain your energy, but instead, it reconnected you to the real source. You didn't lose access, you lost interference. Every no became a redirect. Every closed door became a mirror, showing you how unstoppable you were without their validation. You didn't climb their ladders because you realized ladders only exist for people who can't fly. They thought you were chasing success, but you were removing the chains that kept it trapped inside you. You didn't build confidence, you remembered it. You didn't gain power, you reclaimed it. That's why your rise feels supernatural to them. They can't grasp that your strength wasn't installed, it was revealed. You didn't evolve into power, you remembered you were born with it. That's the secret they'll never decode. While they were busy seeking permission, you were busy awakening. You didn't need recognition to rise because your soul had already signed the contract long before anyone doubted you. They see your success as something you achieved through effort, but it's not effort, it's eruption. You were sitting on potential like a dormant volcano, and rejection was just the spark. When everything fell apart, you finally realized nothing external was keeping you back. It was the weight of forgetting who you were. Once that fell off, everything exploded. Your glow doesn't come from victory, it comes from memory. You didn't make it, you released what was already inside you. You're not self-made, you're self-remembered, and that's what terrifies them the most. They can't destroy what was never built. Number 10. Your silence is the loudest victory they'll ever witness. They threw storms at you, and you learned how to make thunder sit still. That's what rattles them the most. You were supposed to come out angry, loud and desperate to prove your side of the story, but instead you came out serene, steady, untouchable. Your peace became the headline they didn't see coming. They expected you to break. Instead, you disappeared into stillness and rebuilt in silence. And now, every time they mention your name, the quiet that follows is deafening. Imagine this. They're waiting for chaos, for explosions, for a response, for proof that they still matter in your world. But you don't respond anymore. You don't even react. You just exist, effortlessly, like a mountain that doesn't need to explain why the wind can't move it. They call it indifference. It's actually mastery, because peace isn't weakness, it's control. You own your emotions now, and that's a kind of dominance their drama can't compete with. Revenge isn't silence, it's serenity. You didn't need to clap back. You became the proof that every attack collapsed under its own weight. Your composure is your victory speech. Every calm breath you take is a declaration that you won without shouting. That's what unsettles them. Their chaos died in your stillness. They can't stand that your life no longer revolves around proving them wrong. You've moved past the need for validation. You no longer operate in reaction. You operate in resonance. They gossip. You meditate. They compete. You create. They chase noise. You guard your peace like a crown that can't be stolen. You fought for this calm. You bled for this clarity. You earned the right to be unbothered. And now, every ounce of peace you hold is living proof that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply rests. Your silence is not the absence of fight. It's the evidence that the war is over and you won. Number 11. You terrify them because you don't need their stage to reign. They wanted you begging for a crown, but you built a kingdom out of your scars. That's what eats them alive. You were supposed to crave validation, chase titles and worship recognition. Instead, you outgrew all of it. You stopped waiting for someone to hand you power and realized you were the power. You don't sit on thrones. You are the throne. Imagine this, a room full of self-proclaimed kings and queens arguing over who gets the biggest seat while you're out in the wild building empires from dust. You don't play politics, you create peace. You don't need their scepter to lead, you've got presence. Your influence isn't announced, it's felt. That's what disturbs them most. You lead without trying, and they try without leading. The loudest authority is the one that doesn't need to declare itself. You don't bark orders or demand respect. Your energy handles that for you. People adjust around you instinctively, not because you force them to, but because truth commands attention. You don't need a spotlight when your frequency already lights the room. You've mastered the art of quiet power, so still, so certain, it unnerves everyone still faking confidence. They can't understand how someone can walk away from recognition and become more relevant. But that's what happens when your worth isn't negotiable. You stopped chasing applause because you realized applause fades, but alignment doesn't. You stopped proving your value the moment you understood that real kings and queens don't announce their reign. They embody it. They'll never admit it, but they respect you more than they envy you, because deep down they know you're free. Free from needing approval, free from comparison, free from the fragile ego that keeps them chained to performance. You don't crave power, you radiate it. You don't need a throne because you've already mastered the only kingdom that matters, yourself. Number 12. They tried to erase you, now they're taking notes. They buried you like a secret, only to find out you were a seed. That's the part haunting them. You weren't supposed to recover. You were supposed to vanish, humiliated, forgotten. They scattered rumors like salt, hoping nothing could ever grow where your name once stood. But the universe has a cruel sense of irony. It used their betrayal as fertilizer, and now you're blooming in places they'll never reach. Imagine this. They wrote your obituary while you were still breathing. They toasted your failure before the dust had even settled. Then, months later, they see you again. But this time, it's different. You're glowing, grounded, graceful. No bitterness, no breakdown, just quiet strength that doesn't need revenge to be valid. And suddenly, the same mouths that cursed you are whispering your name with curiosity. How did they do it? You did it by disappearing when they expected a reaction. You did it by rebuilding when they were still celebrating your collapse. You didn't just rise, you reinvented gravity. You stopped trying to prove yourself and started improving yourself. Every loss became a lesson, every betrayal a boundary. They were busy counting your mistakes while you were counting your blessings. That's how you rose. They wanted you gone, but your glow turned into their guilt. Now they stalk your peace like detectives chasing a ghost. They analyze your calm, your confidence, your silence, because it doesn't add up. They threw poison, and you made perfume. They spread lies, and you built truth. You took every knife they aimed at your back and used it to carve a path forward. They can't replicate what they don't understand, because what happened wasn't luck, it was evolution. You didn't bounce back, you leveled up. You became everything they swore you'd never be, and now they're left staring at the proof that their plan failed spectacularly. You were never supposed to rise, but you did, and now your existence is their unanswered question. How do you destroy someone who learned how to rise from ashes? Number 13. You turned their mockery into a masterclass. They laughed when you spoke truth. Now they rehearse your every sentence. That's what burns them the most. You were never supposed to become the voice of reason. You were supposed to stay discredited, doubted, dismissed. But life has a habit of flipping the script when the student outgrows the teacher. They tried to silence you, but silence became your amplifier. You stopped explaining, and that's when the world started listening. Imagine this. The same crowd that once rolled their eyes now takes notes every time you speak. They quote your insights in private, but never credit the source. They mimic your language, your rhythm, your calm, but it never hits the same. Because what they copy are your words, not your wisdom. You didn't learn this clarity, you earned it. Every heartbreak taught you tone, every betrayal taught you timing, every failure sharpened your perception until your pain started teaching for you. You didn't need a pulpit to preach, your peace became the sermon. You never forced your growth on anyone. You just kept evolving until your presence became proof that you were right all along. The people who once called you delusional now call you deep. The ones who told you to get over it now secretly study how you moved on. That's not coincidence. That's karma with a syllabus. They thought they were humbling you, but they were training you. Every insult became a lecture in disguise. Every doubt became a textbook you later rewrote with your own success. You don't speak to be understood anymore. You speak to remind. Because the real lesson wasn't what you said, it was who you became. And now they're enrolled in the very class they tried to cancel. You are the living syllabus of survival. You didn't become their enemy, you became their education. You're not their preacher or their guide, you're their proof. They wanted your silence, but your evolution became the loudest teacher they'll ever know. Number 14. You won without losing yourself, and that's what haunts them. You didn't trade your soul for success. You built success around your soul. That's the paradox they can't process. They've been taught that power requires corruption, that success means sacrifice of self. But then there's you, the quiet contradiction. You made it, but you made it whole. You rose without faking, without selling out, without bending your morals to fit their mold, and that's what shakes them to their core. You proved that winning doesn't require becoming heartless, it just requires becoming real. Imagine this, a sea of people chasing crowns made of glass, all cutting their own hands just to wear them. Then there's you, crafting one of light. No blood, no betrayal, no bargain. You're not powerful because you dominate. You're powerful because you don't have to. You are the proof that integrity doesn't slow you down. It propels you. That's why they stare. They don't understand how someone can rise without turning ruthless. They only know survival through sacrifice. You showed them evolution through alignment. You didn't become who they wanted. You became who they feared existed. You rose from sabotage without hate, succeeded without imitation, glowed without validation. You didn't chase power. You became it. Every time they tried to drag you into darkness, you chose to glow harder. You made it, but you stayed kind. You thrived, but you stayed grounded. You were tested in silence and rewarded in sight. They don't talk about it publicly, but you are their quiet contradiction, the living glitch in a system built on fakes. You've redefined what rising looks like. You showed that real ones still win, that empathy can exist beside excellence, and that power can coexist with peace. You are the blueprint, the shift, the reminder that the system doesn't own the definition of success anymore. You do. And if this message hits that hidden part of you that's been fighting to stay authentic, honor it, like share, subscribe, and let your story ripple, because your rise isn't the end of something, it's the start of a movement. The world hasn't seen anything yet. Chosen one. You didn't just make it, you made it without losing yourself. And that's how the story ends. But your rise is still being written. Every scar, every comeback, every moment of peace proves you're not just surviving, you're setting the standard. If this message hits something deep, don't let it fade. Press the like button if you haven't already, and if you're not part of this family yet, hit subscribe. Stay close, chosen one, because what's coming next isn't luck, its legacy.